All right, welcome to the All American Hoops podcast, episode 25. It feels weird. 25 episodes in. It's both going quick, and also feels like we've been doing it a long time as well. But as per usual, I'm your host, Chris Driscoll. Got a great show ahead of us. As you know, last night the Boston Celtics officially advanced to the NBA Finals, so obviously we'll be talking about that. Also, unfortunately, NBA legend Bill Walton passed away last night at the age of 71. So we'll be doing a nice little tribute for him, as he 1,000,000% deserves. He was an all-time great and even better person. We'll also be going over the other conference final series, the Mavs versus the Wolves. The Mavs are up 3-0. So we're going to talk about to see what changes the Wolves can make to make a historical comeback. It's pretty unrealistic, but we'll see what can happen there. And then, since it's the offseason for 28 out of the 30 teams, we just wanted to touch upon what some of these other teams should be doing. So, we're looking forward to talking about all of those. It's going to be a great show ahead of us, and we're looking forward to doing it. This is the All American Hoops podcast. Welcome to the show. As per usual, I'm joined by my younger brother, Matt Driscoll.
Chris, it's an honor to be back after my 2-week hiatus. I saw that I was slandered a little bit the past 2 weeks, so I'm happy to be back here and defend my name.
Yeah, bullying works sometimes for sure, despite what the elementary schools tell us. I say that as an elementary school teacher, so maybe you shouldn't be really using that type of language. But great to have you back. Congrats on graduating. Obviously, I know you're not so happy about that, but it's a great accomplishment. Our older brother John will also be joining us a little bit. He just has some work stuff to do. That's something you have to look forward to, Matt, is joining the workforce and having to take a couple episodes off for work stuff. So he'll be joining us quickly after that. No problem. But to start off the show, we're going to start off on a little bit of a low note because we don't want to finish off on a negative note. Not that it's too negative, but as I mentioned in the intro, NBA legend Bill Walton passed away at the age of 71 with cancer. And it's funny because he's one of those guys where he's pretty famous for. He's famous for his basketball, obviously, but he's very famous for his broadcasting. He's kind of he's like maybe this is like using the term a little too loosely, but it may seem like it's insulting. He's a little bit of a goofball, which obviously not a bad thing, but however, like some people didn't really take his name too seriously when he came up on screen a lot. But however, one thing I didn't really realize until last night when Matt and I were actually watching it was like a little tribute video for Bill Walton, is he was actually he was a phenomenal basketball player, but even a better person off the court. It was an activist and just a really cool thing to see from Bill Walton. As I mentioned, for as dominant as he was on the courts, it was pretty cool to see what he did off the court as well. So, Matt, I was wondering if you had any other thoughts to add on to that.
Yeah, so obviously I knew Bill Walton, was a legend on the court. Obviously MVP of the league, finals MVP, 2-time champion, one of 2 players to ever win 6th Man of the Year and MVP. But I didn't realize how dominant he was in college. I know we really don't talk about college a lot on this channel, but I saw somebody I follow on Instagram posted that he was the best college center of all time. And at first I kind of was like, all right, maybe they're just kind of saying that because he just passed, but it's not like a crazy take to say. He won 2 championships at UCLA. He was, I think, the three-time player of the year. He was drafted first overall. But like you say, his impact off the court is very impressive. Obviously, one of the biggest Deadheads or Grateful Dead fans of all time. We were discussing yesterday watching the Celtics that he went to over 1,000 Dead shows, which means for 20 years he went to 20 straight years, he went to 50 Dead shows a year, which is almost one every week, which is pretty impressive. Very big fan. But I didn't realize, obviously I realized, Hall of Famer, top 75 player of all time. I didn't realize how great of a basketball player he was. And obviously I knew he was a great person. People always speak highly of him. Seemed to just be a great guy.
Absolutely. And Yeah, I've always known he's one of the best college basketball players of all time. I know that Nick Wright had him on his Mount Rushmore a couple years ago. It was Kareem, Bill Walton, Bill Russell, and Oscar Robertson. But the more I looked into it, I really think that it's Kareem, or his name was Lou Alcindor at the time. So I really think it was Lou Alcindor, Bill Walton, and then there's a big gap between 2 and 3. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I was watching the Herd today with Coward, and Nick Wright was actually in the segment as well. They said he went like 21 of 22 in the national championship game. So easily the first or second best college basketball player of all time. And I definitely, yes. So like, obviously you guys know that I'm very, probably one of the things that got me on TikTok the most was my releasing of my top 75 and top 100 lists. And Bill Walton, I believe I had him at number 58 on that list. I am a firm believer that he would have been easily top 30, maybe even creeping into the top 20 if he didn't get injured, because as I mentioned, he he was one of the best college basketball players of all time, entered the league and became one of the best players in the NBA, won the title, went toe-to-toe with Kareem, came back the year after that, won MVP, and then he broke his foot, and then he just wasn't the same after that. But what's super impressive is for him dominating that much during putting together like one of the kind of rambling here, but for someone who was one of the best players in the league and one of the highest peaks at the time, just to completely accept his role, saying like, "Oh crap, I'm never going to be the same player again, but I'm going to make the best of this bad situation." So he ends up going to Boston and just says, "I'm going to embrace this role and become sixth man of the year and be the sixth man of the year on one of the greatest teams of all time." So definitely extremely, extremely impressive career by Bill Walton. And I know the two of us watching the documentary last night, and Danny Ainge had a ton of great things to say about him. So yeah, rest in peace to Bill Walton, and certainly someone that's never going to be forgotten about in basketball history, despite his peak not being for too long. Cool. So speaking of Bill Walton's stint with the Celtics, of course, we're gonna jump over to the Celtics right now. As I mentioned in the pregame show, the Celtics officially made the NBA Finals last night, sweeping the Indiana Pacers. The best thing about this is, as much as I'm enjoying this win, as much as I'm enjoying the fact that Celtics win 12-2 in the playoffs, and I'm sure the players feel this too. Like, as much as it's important to live in the moment and enjoy the it's important to enjoy what you have, because there's really no other point if you're not gonna enjoy what you're doing. But it's good to see that they're not really satisfied. You can definitely see, as happy as they all were also very excited to see the Celtics actually really surpass. They didn't really surpass expectations, because they were kind of expected to make the finals, but definitely very excited to see them make the finals. And we're going to dive into this. They definitely have a lot to say about that. But Matt, I was wondering what your opening thoughts were in this.
So yeah, obviously, like, the main focus around the Celtics playoff run this year has been people saying, "Oh, the East has been super injured this year. This run isn't impressive," which I totally get. Butler was hurt. Mitchell missed 2 games, I believe. Halliburton missed 2 games. There is injury concerns, but I feel like this injuries happen every playoffs, and I don't know what you want the Celtics to do about that. They're 12-2 in the East in the playoffs this year. Like, they've been absolutely dominant. You said when we were talking about what we were going to talk about earlier, have they been battle tested enough? I think probably this playoff run, they haven't really been battle tested enough. I know there has been clutch games, but you're playing teams without their best player. But in past years, they have been battle tested. Last year, they went to an Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, what has it been? Last 5 Eastern Conference Finals in past 7 years. And the guys they picked up, Drew Holiday is an NBA champion. I believe Porzingis went to the conference finals once before. So they all battle tested. Maybe not this year, but I believe in this team. I think they're the best team in the league. So I believe they have been battle tested.
1,000,000% agreed. And yeah, definitely happy about that. But before we move on, I would like to introduce John. He is He's and I can see he's very excited to come on the show. So we're very happy to have John on the show. Welcome, John, as per usual.
Yeah.
Let's go. Woo!
Is that upside down? It's upside down.
It is. Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
Right.
John, I'd like to ask, where'd you get that flag?
I earned this flag on Sunday evening at the Great Jenkinson's Boardwalk in Point Pleasant Beach. I found myself wandering on the boardwalk with $10 in my pocket, and I sunk 2 out of 3 on the basketball game, and I will be bragging about that to my children in the future. But I think it was a great weekend of basketball. We the 3 of us got to watch games 3 and 4 together, which was awesome. Really great energy in the Driscoll household. I thought the Celtics played great. They took care of business. Finally got some clutch games that, all the ESPN talking heads can talk about. So I'm glad they got that. Somehow they're still finding an issue with it, but very, very excited. And I don't know how in depth you guys went on it so far, but I'm excited for next week.
I'd just like to comment on one of the things John said. You said the national media isn't happy with how they're playing. I feel like every time the Celtics play, the goalpost just gets moved and moved and moved. Like at the beginning of the playoffs, they beat the Heat, I think, the first game by 20-something. I don't have the number in front of me, but there was, they're blowing teams out. They haven't been in too many clutch games this year. And now all of a sudden they had the Pacers had a 90% probability to win 3 out of these 4 games, and the Celtics won all of them. And now all of a sudden it's, they're playing these teams too close. They're not handling their business, even though they're, like I said earlier, they're 12-2 in the playoffs so far. The goalpost just keeps getting moved with the media, with the Celtics. I think that's just a sign that, they're held to such a high standard because they're such a great team.
I think these talking heads are scared, man. They're scared. They've been talking crap on the Celtics all year long. I will have to say, Nick Wright, he says Mavs in 5. That's cool if you believe that. But if the Celtics do beat the Mavs, then I don't want to hear any of these excuses about a cupcake schedule, because if the Mavs are supposed to win in 5, they must be a great team. So I'm excited to see how that plays out.
I just wish the media would admit that there is nothing the Celtics could have done this playoff run to be impressed by them, because I know there were a couple low follower Twitter users that said there's nothing that the Celtics can do to move me until they make the finals, which is actually like more of a valid take than I would have initially thought, because I'm someone who's big on I really will not be impressed until you show me that you can make a deep playoff run against some good teams. So while I am someone who already does believe the Celtics can make a far playoff run against great teams, because they already have. 2022 they went which I know this is a different team, but 2022 they went through Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving in the Nets. They went through Giannis in the Bucks. They went through Jimmy Butler in the Heats, and then took Steph Curry to 6 games. Last year was a bit of a different story because just because the Hawks went through them and put up 6 games against them. That wasn't great. Then Joel Embiid and the Sixers went 7 games. That probably should have ended earlier. Personally, that game, I think that series could have ended in 5 if the Celtics ended up winning that game 4. If Marcus Smart got that shot off just a little bit earlier, maybe. Then then obviously they went down 3-0 against the Heat. So I definitely think, the whole notion that they can't beat any teams just has been proven false, because, even Joel Dell said, former guest on the show said, if there's one thing the Celtics team has proven is that they can win playoff games. It's not whether or not they prove they can win playoff games. It's a matter of, can they do it in the finals? They've only played in the finals once since this core has been together, and 6 games is pretty impressive against a dynasty like that. But however, there was a clear experience mismatch. LeBron said on him and JJ's podcasts, not only was there an experience mismatch, there was also a lack of IQ mismatch as well. I personally think that this Celtics team definitely does have much strength in the IQ. As much as we love Marcus Smart, and as much as I think that he knows a lot about the game, as much as I know how much he knows about the game. If you listen to him talk about basketball, he's he obviously knows his stuff. But that being said, he's just not the best decision maker on the courts. replace him with Drew Holiday, who is a fantastic decision maker on the courts. Maybe is a bit of a shot chucker at times, but he's definitely been better at that this season. So this is definitely a better Celtics team, and like despite you could talk about a cupcake schedule all you want. 12-2 is impressive, and I understand if you're not going to be totally moved until they play in the finals against a legit team. But yeah, like John said, you can't just totally turn your back on them. Not turn your back on them, but like just totally move the goalposts as Matt's been saying actually. With everything that's happening, because I could just see from a mile away. If I'm talking about if the Celtics win the finals against the Mavs, it's going to be the Celtics had to beat a 5 seed in the NBA finals. Like that's something that I just know is gonna happen. But should be very interesting. But I just wanted to because we all mentioned it a couple times about the schedule, but I just want to know how concerned you guys are with the fact that we'll be playing 99% sure we'll be playing the Mavs unless the Wolves do a historical comeback like the Celtics did last year but lost Game 7. Both of those teams are head and shoulders above either the teams that the Celtics played. Any of the 3 teams. I think that's probably the Cavs were the best team because they played three games with Donovan Mitchell. And after that, probably the Pacers, then the Heat without Jimmy. But regardless of who's there, I think that both the Wolves and the Mavs are head and shoulders above everyone else. So, and the Celtics had to play in 3 clutch games against the Pacers and handful and not many close games against either of the Cavs or the Heats. But still, people are wondering, will the Celtics be able to maintain the style of play against either of those teams? So, John, I was wondering what your thoughts on that were.
Yeah, I think that we've kind of seen it over the past couple of years, and you don't want to reference other past years just because it's a different team, but past years and this year, the Celtics play up and they play down to their competition. I've been very happy to see this playoff run. They kind of cleaned up the playing down to their competition, but they've always played well against good teams, and you can reference their losses to Denver this year, but they split with Minnesota. They beat Dallas twice. I think that this is a core that welcomes a challenge. I think they know that both Minnesota and Dallas are better teams than what they've faced so far. But I think that's something that they look forward to, and they like the challenge. So I'm not really concerned about them, because they played good teams a month ago or 2 months ago. It hasn't been years since they played a really, really good team. I think that they know what's at stake. They'll prepare for it. And I don't think it's going to be like a culture shock when they step on the floor and they're like, oh, wow, Luka's better than Tyrese Haliburton. It's like, I think they know that. I think they're ready for it. And I think that they're built to win series like this. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah, John, I totally agree. Obviously the West is way, way stronger than the East, but the whole narrative that a team that comes out of the West is just going to dog walk the Celtics, I just don't understand it. I think, what are the Celtics now? 20 or 70 and 20 or what's their record for the whole year? I don't know if anyone has.
They won 64 games in the regular season. So what is it? 76 and 20, is it?
76 and 20 this year.
76 and 20, yeah.
They're 23-7 against teams in the Western Conference this year. Like John said, they split with Minnesota, 2 great games. They beat Dallas twice. I think they've proven all year that they're just a really, really great team. I think whatever team, most likely Dallas, comes out of the West, it will be a great series. But I just don't get the narrative that the Mavs are just going to come out and absolutely work the Celtics. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, especially when you talk about the fact that the Mavs were able to go up against the Clippers without Kawhi. They played an inexperienced Thunder team, which I know was lacking context because the Thunder were one of the best teams in the league all season, and now they're playing the Wolves, which I don't really think there's anything to nitpick at. Just since the Wolves just beat the Nuggets, but I guess the only thing you really could nitpick is that they just had a miracle. They just not a miracle, but they just really overachieved against the Nuggets and thought it would be easy, which I'm not gonna fault the Mavs for that. But But we can nitpick really anything, which I know there's more to nitpick the Celtics run out than the Mavs. But the Celtics have just been the much better team all regular season long. And while I understand the Mavs have been battle tested more in this postseason against better teams, you need a little bit more of a sample size, which I understand sample size begins to matter less in the playoffs, since because basically you guys know how pro analytics I am. But however, when I was on the Simple Minds podcast with the Boston guys, and they're actually in the Sports Fluent channel as well. One of the guys said, as important as analytics are during the regular season, when it comes to postseason, it's going to be the stars that are going to be the ones that come through and say, I don't really care about your analytics now. I'm going to close out this big game and then worry about tomorrow. So, can Tatum and Brown be those guys? They've proven they can be those guys in the Eastern Conference Finals. But can they do it in the finals? We don't know. Kyrie has proven he could do it in the finals. He did it in both 2016 and 2017. Can Luka be the guy in the finals? I think he can be. But who knows what's going to happen there. But one more thing I wanted to talk about was actually the Celtics. The Celtics came on. The Celtics did all this. They went 12-2 without their starting center and Kristaps Porzingis for 2.5 of those games, I believe. Was it 2.5 or 3.5? I don't remember. Yeah, definitely 2.5. Actually, it was game 3. He got injured, I think. While some may look at this, I think most are looking at this saying okay, this is great news. Porzingis is going to be back, and it really puts a great dent in the rotation. Al can go to the bench now rather than playing 38 minutes a game. He could play 25, maybe probably won't even play 30 minutes a game. Luke Cornett probably won't get much playing time. Sam Hauser will probably get a few less minutes. Hopefully he could be more efficient since he's playing fewer minutes now. But however, you could look at the other side of the coin saying, okay, he's been out for a month and a half. Who knows if he's 100% healthy, and also who knows if he's going to be rusty, whether he's 100% healthy or not. So, Matt, I was just wondering what your thoughts on that would be.
Maybe it's just my blind optimism talking, but I think it being the NBA Finals and it just not being like when you see guys come back from an injury in the regular season, maybe it takes a couple games, because I think a big part of that is the mental side of the game. They come back, they're like not in the best shape. They're, maybe not as locked in as they were before they were injured. So I think it being the NBA Finals, I think, he'll fit right in like he has all season. I was worried when he got traded here that it might take a couple games for him to adjust to the Celtics like style, and it really didn't. He kind of just fit in right away. So I'm thinking it'll kind of be like that the same. Like John said earlier, it's been like a month since they played like a good team, or like however long it's been, 2 months. I think it's kind of like the same thing. Like it hasn't been like a full season since Porzingis has played with them. It's only been 2.5 series. 2.5 series. So I think he'll be fine. I hope he's 100%, obviously, but no matter what, I think he'll be fine with coming back.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think I liked your point on how he's not coming back for regular season games, he's coming back for the NBA Finals, and maybe we'll have some adrenaline carry him throughout the beginning of it at least. And with him, he's like a presence player too. So, maybe if he's not 100%, throwing his body around, he's still a 7'3" demon sitting in the paint, protecting the rim. I think that provides definitely some insurance. And like you mentioned, Chris, it brings Al to the bench, or I think Matt mentioned it too. Al's going to play a little less minutes. He's looked excellent this playoff run. I think them kind of spacing out his rest days during the regular season have definitely paid off. And just to not to go backwards, but we talked before about how the Celtics haven't played a team as good as the Mavericks this postseason, and that's true. But the Mavericks definitely have not played a team as good as the Celtics yet either. So I think it's going to be maybe it's a wake up call for both of them. I think they're both going to be. I think they'll both be prepared. But I think with the Celtics, how they're playing, how they're winning too, you're seeing them win games where you could argue they didn't have any business winning. They're winning clutch minutes. They dominated clutch minutes in the Indiana series, and that's kind of what I wanted to see. It's always nice to see a blowout, but it's also nice to see them win clutch games in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think with them adding Porzingis to that equation, it just gives them so many more avenues to exploit.
Absolutely. Also, just the fact that, yeah, like, and I 100% agree with you that Hal has been fantastic. Getting very hot from three, has been a little has had some nights where he's been cold from three and got absolutely cooked in game one on the perimeter. Just the fact that he won't have to worry about that as much, with KP back, which I should have mentioned. It's not really 100% confirmed that he will be back, but however, I know that some reporters, I don't know if it was Bill Simmons or someone else that said that Porzingis is as close to 100% as he has been, but they just really wanted to try to see if they can grind it out, to give both him and Al the rest, and it ends up paying off. But it's gonna be very interesting to say the least. Yeah, I'm not crazy worried about him being too rusty because at the end of the day, it is only a 7-game series and the games are spread out. I don't know. I'm not really sure how many single day rest games there are, but it will be very interesting to say the least how the Celtics adjust to this schedule. But yeah, I also like how John said the Mavs haven't played a team as good as the Celtics because, like as impressive as it is, they beat the Thunder and now the Wolves. As I mentioned, the Thunder inexperienced and the Wolves, despite what Anthony Edwards has shown, the Wolves were an average offense all year long, and as impressive as Anthony Edwards was in the first 2 rounds. Sorry, not Anthony Edwards. Baby Jordan has been in the first 2 rounds. He is inexperienced, and I know he's the media sweetheart, but he's just not that guy yet. He's 22 years old, and I think that one day he will be a top 5 player in the league. He is not there yet, and he not only is he not there, he is not close to being there yet. I know that some people inserted him into the top 4, top 5. I can name 10 guys better than him right now. And yeah, I did include him in my club superstar, but he made it at the skin of his teeth. So, definitely not counting him out yet. But however, can you tell how bitter I am? The fact that many people had him ahead of Jason Tatum already. Who knows? Maybe I'll be on the show next week. Probably be next week. Okay. Oh yeah, it will be next week. Actually, that's we'll know if the Timberwolves came back 3-0, and if Anthony Edwards. Oh, and then I'll have to eat my words and see how Anthony Edwards does against the Celtics in the finals. But I should have said that for the next segment. But yeah. But speaking of Anthony Edwards and the Mavs, in the Wolves, we're gonna take a deeper dive into this series. So as I mentioned, currently the Mavs are up 3-0 on the Wolves. I don't know if anyone saw this coming. I'm sure. I know a lot of people did have the Mavs winning the series. But I don't want to say a lot of people because, I feel like most people did have the Wolves winning the series, even though people were impressed with the Mavs. I know that John and I did. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Matt had the Wolves too. Maybe you would know that more if Matt was on the show the past 2 weeks. But but most people did have the the Wolves winning. So, John, if you want to, I don't know if you want to talk about your takeaways on the series so far.
Yeah, I think I sat here last week and I said that I'm going to pick the Wolves in 7. And I noted that was my 3rd time picking against the Mavs, and it might come back to bite me in the ass. And it certainly has. I've been incredibly impressed with the Mavs. I think you're seeing just superstars being superstars. We know Luka does have playoff experience, not to the extent of someone like Jason Tatum, but he does have playoff experience, and he's hit a ton of big shots this run and past runs, and I think also what you're seeing is just like, this is why it's so hard with the NBA when you talk about like, oh, this team beat that team, so and then that team lost to this team, so obviously that's gonna work out. Like, matchups matter in the NBA. I think that the Nuggets would beat the Mavs, but I think the Timberwolves were a good matchup for the Nuggets. And when you compare that to the Mavs, 2 really good scorers in Kyrie and Luka on the perimeter. Granted, we know Anthony Edwards is a good 2-way player. It doesn't really translate. And I just think what you're seeing is, like, as objectively speaking, if you asked a Celtics fan 2 weeks ago, based on what we saw in the regular season, I know the teams are a little bit different. The Mavs made some additions, but you say, okay, the Celtics didn't really struggle too much against the Mavericks, but they didn't struggle too much against the Mavericks in the regular season, but the Timberwolves really, really brought it to them. They were two tough games. I think objectively, if you're a Celtics fan 2 weeks ago, you say, okay, the Mavericks were somebody that you felt almost comfortable playing, but the Timberwolves were really the tougher matchup, just looking at it objectively. Really great defense, if the shot's not falling like that. But I think that what you're seeing is just a matchup thing. I think it's exciting, but really been impressed with how Dallas has been playing.
Yeah, I think Dallas is a totally different team than what they were before the deadline and what they were in the last 20 games of the regular season. I think, Chris, in your article, you said last 15 games of the regular season, they were the best defense in the league. And I think it's continued this playoffs. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but they have been super, super impressive. I had them making the Western Conference Finals, only one on the pod having them making the Western Conference Finals, not to flex. But I had them losing to the Nuggets, who obviously lost last round. But, John, I totally agree that it's a matchup thing. I think the Timberwolves were kind of made to beat the Nuggets, and they did that. They had the 7-footers to throw at Jokic, you guys mentioned it last week, to make him work a little more, and that's exactly what they did. But they do have Jaden McDaniels. They do have Anthony Edwards, but it's a really tough matchup for them to guard a guy like Luka, someone that's 6'8" and is one of the best players in the league. But I've been super impressed with how the Mavs role players have been playing. You guys touched on it last week. Obviously, Luka and Kyrie have been carrying the load, but Daniel Gafford has been awesome this series. I'm not a huge fan of him, but PJ Washington has been good this playoffs. And I don't know, wasn't Derek Lively? Do we have an injury update on him? I don't know. I think you're muted, Chris.
Yes, I was. So he is out for tonight. But there is no concern of him coming back. Of him missing any time in the finals, which, obviously you don't want to already jump ahead to the finals. You want to win the series first, but yeah, not much concern there.
Yeah, maybe it's like a kind of a precautionary thing that they're up 3-0. That's why he's resting. But I've been super impressed with him all year. I think he's a very, very good player. But yeah, the Mavs have very, really, really impressed me. I thought if the Nuggets got here, Nuggets would beat them in like 5 or 6. I thought the Timberwolves would beat them in 7. I know I wasn't here the past 2 weeks, which has been mentioned numerous times on this podcast, but I would have said Wolves in 7 like you guys. But yeah, I guess Baby Jordan, he's got to step up the next couple games. Maybe shoot more than 38% from the field. Who's to say? But yeah, really impressed with how everyone's playing. Kyrie hasn't quit on them yet, which is impressive. Usually he does that by now. So it's very impressive.
By the way, I'm just wondering, were we just confused this entire time when they said Baby Jordan? Were they comparing him to Jimmy Butler, who has been compared to Michael Jordan before too? Because Anthony Edwards gave 2 quotes this weekend. I don't know if one of them was definitely this weekend, saying, "I really don't think they can beat us," when he's down 3-0. And I believe that he also said something about making history. So it sounds like he just wants to make some viral quotes if the Wolves do happen to come back 3-0 from the Mavs, which sounds very similar energy to when Jimmy Butler said after winning the conference finals last year, telling Bam Adebayo to hold the conference finals trophy because he said he'll hold the next one. So I don't know exactly if the media was talking about Jimmy Butler or were they talking about Michael Jordan, because it would make much more sense if they were talking about Anthony Edwards. Okay, they were talking about Jimmy Butler.
I will say Anthony Edwards is better than Jimmy Butler has ever been. So I do appreciate that troll, Chris, though. That was good.
Yeah, you should have been at the Driscoll household on Friday nights. I was doing some generational hating on Anthony Edwards, which I understand isn't a good look on me as a content creator. I do try to be as unbiased as possible, which I know annoys you guys sometimes when I try to do that. But yeah, sometimes I got to let loose. Sometimes, especially when players are compared to our guy Jason Tatum. But yeah, before we finish off this segment, I want you guys on a scale of 1 to 100. What are the chances that you give the Wolves coming back down 3-0?
100 being that they will do it.
Yes.
Can we go negative numbers or no? that
Sure.
another round. I'm going to say negative 100. I don't think there's any shot that the Wolves come back.
Okay.
Maybe I hope they make it a series, so the Mavs are more tired for the finals, to be biased, but I've just been super impressed with the Mavs all postseason. I think the Mavs either close out tonight or close out in 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 3, just to hedge my bets. But no, I think the Mavs kind of have their number. They have figured out how to beat them in big fashion and in clutch situations. Tough couple weeks of press for your boy Gobert there, Chris. He's not really
Oh damn, yeah.
much, I know we saw Pete Foreman. He was a couple beverages deep on Sunday, but he was letting you hear it.
He was, yeah, and I do apologize to the viewers because I guess I think I'm really proud of my track record of holding myself accountable, and that's something I did intend on bringing up, but I didn't, so I do appreciate that, John. However, I will say, I am asking someone to tell me any defensive player in NBA history who would have been asked to guard Luka Doncic to shut him down outside of the perimeter, which I understand we kind of put him on skates, which again isn't a great look for the defensive player of the year, but I give anyone maybe outside of Hakeem Olajuwon and Tim Duncan and their footwork to guard Luka up the perimeter. And I know people are going to say like, oh, Bam would have done that, Anthony Davis would have done that. The whole notion of them always guarding 1 through 5 is just blatantly false. They're usually they're usually anchoring the defense just like Gobert. They're more versatile than Gobert, but that doesn't mean you're a better defender than Gobert. Gobert is hands down the most impactful defender in the league. And it's because of his interior defense, which I know the Perk came out and said today, oh, I'm ashamed of my votes of voting Gobert Defensive Player of the Year, which you shouldn't be using the playoffs by any stretch of the means to impact your vote for the Defensive Player of the Year, which I know that we've said before that Joel Embiid's MVP case was fraudulent because of the playoffs, but it wasn't just because of the playoffs though. Okay, so moving on. Yes, obviously there's only 2 series left, so we didn't really have a ton to cover. Even though we took a pretty deep dive into each of those series, happy we were able to do that. And I'm also very happy.
You actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So obviously I think we all 3 of us expect the Wolves to close it. Not the Wolves, excuse me. I don't know why I get mixed up. The Mavs to close it out tonight. Do you think it's more beneficial for? I mean, obviously, you probably say that it's more beneficial for the Celtics if the Mavs, place 5 or 6 in this series. But would you rather them just be on like the same wavelength of not playing a basketball game in a week plus, or would you rather them be like, whether it's tired versus staying rusty or not?
I want the Wolves to come back 3-0 to Game 7, and then I want the Mavs to win Game 7, because if the Wolves come back 3-0 and then win Game 7, they have all the momentum going in. They'll say we just came back 3-0, and we're going to punch the Celtics in the face just like we did the Mavs. The Mavs, on the other hand, if they blow a 3-0 lead, or not blow, that's the wrong term, but if they lose 3 games in a row, they lose a ton of confidence, but then they squeeze out and then win Game 7. They'll be like, okay, we just lost 3 in a row, but won Game 7. While they might be confident heading in that they just won a Game 7, they'll also be like, oh crap, we just lost 3 in a row. So they might start to question themselves. So rust versus like being tired, or whether or not you think it's going to carry over well, like the amount of exercise they have. I'm taking this mentally and saying I would rather not only them being tired out, but them being mentally drained as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Chris. I know in baseball it's kind of a thing where like the past couple of years, the team that's just snuck into the wild card, like momentum's a big thing. They don't have to sit for a week and a half before they play a game. But I think I'm just going to like think about it just objectively. I think it's better if a team you're playing in the finals has played more games than you when you got there, just because of rest wise. I know Luka's a little banged up now too. So I think as a Celtics fan, we should hope for a 7-game series. I know it's probably not going to happen, but I think that would be best case scenario for the Celtics.
Was it Ronald Acuna or was it Marcelo Zuna or was it both? Okay, it may have been someone else actually that was complaining about the schedule.
I think it was the entire Braves organization.
Was it the
Yeah, I'm
entire
not
Braves?
sure, but I know that Marcelo Ozuna was the one who drove drunk and then committed a domestic violence attack. So
Still in the league, by the way.
yes,
Applauded by
the
Braves.
MLB needs to be better.
Guys, you may want to keep that down, and not because I'm against and not because I'm against talking about it internally, but however, I'm afraid that Rob Manfred is going to find this podcast and then shut it down if we ever talk about that, because apparently he doesn't like this, which I know it's a different sport, but he has his ways as well. Moving on, because like as I mentioned, we were able to dive pretty deep into both series. So yeah, that was a pretty good thing, because we talk about series we talk about like games pretty deeply, but we usually don't do it to that extent. So that was a pretty cool thing to see. But however, since we do have about 20 minutes left in the show, I did want to talk about actually the NBA offseason. A lot of people say that the NBA is like a 12-month sport, basically because it's like very active in the offseason. And I kind of wish I had you guys pick out your own teams as to who you want to talk about, but I just wanted to see what you guys thought about these certain teams. So I wanted to talk about 3 teams. I think we'll first talk about the team that's that's still in, but technically almost eliminated, and that's the Minnesota Timberwolves. So you guys can talk about whatever you want with the Wolves, but my main question is, do you keep Gobert and Cat together? Because they found a way to beat the Denver Nuggets with the two of them, and it was very effective, with Cat just being a really great body on Jokic, with Gobert being the roamer that he is. But is their ceiling championship? Not only that, as I mentioned, their offense is average, and the Nuggets kind of expose that, and the Mavs are exposing that even more. So, do you think that the Wolves should trade either Gobert or Cat? But if not, what moves do you think they should make to improve their roster?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
I don't think you should split up Gobert and Cat. I said it earlier. I think they're kind of designed to beat the Nuggets, and I think that's not a horrible thing to be designed for in the West, especially next year. Their offense is average, like you said, but I think next year Anthony Edwards takes another jump, and I think their offense gets better. And I'm looking at the free agents for next year. Like, I don't know who they bring in to make their offense like significantly better. Like, obviously, like there's like LeBron and Paul George, but I don't think they're going to go and get a LeBron, or I don't think they're going to get Paul George. But yeah, I don't think you should split up Gobert and Cat. I mean, if looking at it, you could say a team led by a 22-year-old just made the Western Conference Finals, and I mean, they're still in the Western Conference Finals. Who knows? Like, maybe history is made. Maybe they do come back from 3-0, but I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe it does, I really don't think you split up the two big guys. I mean, they were the best defense in the league all year, and they were a main reason for that.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I wouldn't split them up. They made a Western Conference Finals with, like you said, led by a 22-year-old. And I think if you get better play from that 22-year-old and you get average play from Karl-Anthony Towns, we all love Karl-Anthony Towns, you're looking at a much more competitive series, and you're looking at a potential to make the NBA Finals. And this is their first real, like, legit deep playoff run, so you have to cut them a little slack. I think it'd be foolish to split them up right away, and I think the grass is always greener on the other side. Is there an avenue for them to do so? I think so, because if you were to split up Cat or Gobert, trade one of them, you do have – that's another question, though. Is Naz Reid as effective starting versus coming off the bench? I don't really know. I'm not really sure I would say so. But I just think it'd be kind of reactionary to split them up right away. And I think that this is, maybe a team that ran into a tough stretch of games, and, their big guys kind of started all underperforming at the same time. So I wouldn't split them up, no.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you guys. As much as you can argue that there's a ceiling there, I also made this point with the Knicks last year. You don't want to completely restructure your core after one great season. I think the Knicks made a great decision in not moving around too many pieces by not trading Julius Randle and a couple other things to make a massive risk. I did say last week that the Knicks did have to make some changes in order if they wanted to compete for a championship next year, and I do think that they should. It's not like the Wolves or the Celtics where they're competitive every year, and the Celtics had to make a move by trading Marcus Smart, Rob Williams, and Malcolm Brogdon to go where they are now. The Wolves have been good for one season. They should. They owe it to the fans. Be good for another year, then see. I definitely think they could win a championship next year. If they fall flat with even just a first round exit next year, that's when you go all in and say, okay, we have to make some decisions. Do we shake it up by trading either Gobert or Cat? Do we trade Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels for another star next to Anthony Edwards? Those are questions to be answered soon. I don't think they should be answered this year, though. I think they should run it back with this core and then see if what they're doing now is sustainable. So I think next we'll talk about the team that was eliminated last night in the Indiana Pacers. I got to tip my cap to the Pacers because they were the 6th seed. I think they were much better in the first half of the year. They came in second in the in-season tournament. I know that a lot of people gave Tyrese Halliburton, talked a lot of crap to Tyrese Halliburton. A lot of it was justifiable because, bit of a front runner, as people say. Maybe that was a little overused, but I definitely think there was some truth to it. And I know that he didn't play the last 2 games of the series, and many argue that the Pacers played better without him. But that being said, I'm very impressed with him. I'm extremely impressed with Pascal Siakam. I'm someone who's always been a fan of Pascal Siakam, but I definitely think he played the best series since 2019. Because I feel like after 2019, he kind of definitely didn't play well against the Celtics in 2020. Obviously, super impressed with Miles Turner. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I did pick Miles Turner to be one of the breakout players in the playoffs, and he ended up being exactly that. But someone made a comparison to the Indiana Pacers being like the 2021 Hawks, and some people were saying you definitely can't run it back with this core. And what should happen there? John, I was wondering what your thoughts on that would be.
Yeah, I really don't think that they're like the 2021 Hawks. And I thought the Hawks kind of, because after that 2021 season, they went and got DeJounte Murray, right?
Did they get him?
I don't think he was on that 2021 run.
He was not, but I'm pretty sure that they got John Murray the year after that, like heading into the 2023 season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that there's arguments to be made on both sides for the Pacers. I think they overperformed, but I was very impressed with the Pacers this playoff run. You can make arguments that they faced an injured Bucks team and then faced a injured Knicks team and then didn't win a game after that. That's kind of looking at it in a vacuum. But I think that they have a good young core, right? I mean, I know Miles Turner is probably in his late 20s now. Halliburton's young. Nesmith is good. I mean, Nembhard was unbelievable this entire playoff run. I think they should look to, find more ways to get him the ball down the stretch. So I wouldn't really split up the core. I think the core is something that's been said a lot, but it's, 2, 3, 4 guys. I think there definitely needs to be improvements made across the board with the rest of the team. But sorry, I also didn't mention Pascal Siakam. He played outstanding. He had a really, really great series. I think there were talks about them extending him this offseason. And I think he should be part of that core. He's a very, very underrated player, and he had a great playoff run. So I wouldn't split up the core. I wouldn't run it back necessarily. I think there needs to be additions and adjustments to be made. But I think, Halliburton, Nembhard, Nesmith, Siakam, I think that's a good 4 that you start with and try to build around that.
Yeah, Chris, I'm a little upset that you said this about the Wolves because I was going to quote you about you saying this about the Knicks. I think the Pacers should be a good team for a year or two. Don't blow anything up. You got Halliburton, who just finished his 3rd year, who's an all-star. Nembhard, is an absolute stud. Mike Breen said he's a future star on the broadcast last night, and I totally agree. I think he's so good. I was looking at his numbers. This series, he averaged sorry, I just had it up. 21, 7.8 assists on, it was 52% shooting, I believe. Sorry, 54% shooting. If you told me he shot 80% from the field this series, I would have believed you. I don't remember him missing any shots. I saw a thing about extending Pascal Siakam to the max, and people are like, oh, like people believe that being a max player means you have to be like a top 10 player in the league, and I don't agree with that. I think you have to overpay for guys at points. I think you should absolutely extend Siakam. I think he's a stud as well. Yeah, I don't think you should blow it up. I think, like John said, build around those four guys, the Nembhard, Halliburton, Siakam, and who was the fourth guy? Miles Turner.
Yeah.
Also, we're forgetting someone that didn't play because of injury is Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah, Mathurin. He's solid too.
He's 21. Nembhard's 24. Like, these guys are young.
Yeah, stay a couple years, get a couple experiences. I think you should pay TJ McConnell $1 billion a year because that guy is so annoying to play against. He's so annoying. I think he averages a buzzer beater a game. I was very, very impressed with the Pacers. I think maybe this offseason you bring in a couple of defensive-minded guys. I don't have the list in front of me, so I don't know who, but definitely build around Halliburton, build around Siakam, extend Nembhard as soon as you can. But yeah, definitely don't blow it up yet.
I'm not really sure. And I see both of your points of views, but I also look at it as assuming everyone's healthy, I think that 7 teams are better than the Pacers. I think the Celtics, the Bucks, the Knicks, the Cavs, the Magic, the Sixers, and maybe the Heat. Definitely ceiling wise are better than the Pacers. I'm talking about strictly ceiling because we've seen the Heat make the finals. I don't think the Pacers, even though if we're talking close games, the Pacers really could be up 3-1 now. But yeah, I think the Magic have a higher ceiling than the Pacers. I think. And yeah, but like you said, they're young. Maybe they're not going to this summer because of how great he played in the playoffs. But maybe entertain the idea for the millionth time of trading Miles Turner for either younger pieces or just more trade assets. I feel like that's the only move you should make. But yeah, I 100% agree with the notion that they should extend Pascal Siakam, or not extend because I think he's a free agent. But yeah, that's just my only concern is that I do believe there are many teams, strictly ceiling wise, that are much better than the Pacers. But yeah, like you said, maybe just be a good team for a year, for like another year or two, but then go all in because maybe don't make it your intention yet to win a finals. But yeah, just improve the team the best you can without blowing anything up yet. So maybe that's the best move. But yeah, we got one more team left, and I did mention them on my list of teams that I do think are better than Pacers, and that's the Cavs. The Cavs are in a tough spot for sure. Lots of reports came out regarding how unhappy a lot of the players were in the Cavs organization. A lot of people did believe that Jared Allen could have played, including Marcus Morris. Which, by the way, there were times where I enjoyed Marcus Morris. I thought that he played pretty well in certain games for the Celtics, but yeah, he's clear locker room problem in a lot of the places that he's been in. But yeah, he said he wished that Jared Allen played. Obviously, there's a couple other reports. There's been the reports all year long of Donovan Mitchell potentially requesting a trade, but I don't really know what the Cavs should do. And Matt, so yeah, I guess my main question is, do you think the Cavs should try to trade Donovan Mitchell this summer?
So Mitchell is a free agent in 2025. It's not I feel like Mitchell's like a great locker room guy. I feel like a lot of these reports are kind of just, throwing shots in the dark of if he's going to resign, if he's not going to resign. But from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like he's going to resign there or sign an extension there. Like you kind of did with the Pacers. I don't think the Cavs are better than a lot of teams in the East. I know they had a pretty good run in the regular season. I know, they ran into the Celtics and injuries happen, but I'm thinking they should trade Donovan Mitchell. I don't think they're going to win with him in Cleveland, and I don't think he's going to resign. So I think, get something when you can, I guess. I feel like they have been they were the 5 seed last year, were the 4 seed this year. Were a disappointment in the playoffs last year, won a tough series against the Magic this year, but then lost in 5. And I mean, I know they won that one game, but it was kind of like a fluke shooting night. So I do like Donovan Mitchell. I do like the Cavs, but I think maybe that era should be over.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everything, and we could call it speculation, we can call it whatever, but when there's smoke, there's fire. I don't really see any avenue where Donovan Mitchell signs an extension with Cleveland. I think if they went on like a deep playoff run, maybe like made it to the finals, and like he like fell in love with the city the way like LeBron did or whatever. But I just don't really see, and like you mentioned, I don't see an avenue where they do finish as a top 3 team in the East and are like legit contenders. And it stinks because I think the Cavs like Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, I think he's one of the best players in the league, and I just think looking at it objectively and thinking you don't want to lose this guy for nothing because that's a player that can get you a ton in a trade. The only issue with that is, you trade Donovan Mitchell. What do you do with Evan Mobley? What do you do with Jared Allen? What do you do with these guys who aren't necessarily, I mean, I guess I don't even know how old Mobley is, but like by the time you like use the assets you get from Donovan Mitchell to like bolster your team up for another playoff run or another finals run, like how old are those guys going to be? Are they going to be looking for extensions? Are they going to be looking to go elsewhere? So it's a really tough situation to be in, but I would trade him just to get the assets because I don't really think that he has any intention of signing a long-term deal.
Yeah, definitely agree. I've always been a massive fan of Donovan Mitchell. Definitely someone who, I've called him the most underrated player in the league for years now. I'm not really sure if that still stands because he's really getting his flowers, and I'm really happy to see that. But yeah, definitely, it should. Yeah, I definitely think that the Cavs should at least consider trading him. If he doesn't sign the extension, I don't think you have any other choice. But won't necessarily be the end of the world because Evan Mobley definitely isn't a player to be upset at building around. But however, don't have a lot of ton of time left. But there is one more thing that I wanted to share, and John and Matt, I did not include this in the agenda, but I do believe that I talked about this earlier. If I can, I'm trying to get one more thing pulled up. If I can get it up in here now, I think I got it done. Is it up? Oh, yes, it is. Perfect. Okay, I just gotta wait for it to upload. But for the past couple months, I know a lot of my family and friends have been asking, will I start selling anything regarding the podcast? And I will. Shout out to Tony from Sports Fluent. I will. The official All American Hoops sports. Sorry, I'm so excited that I'm stumbling over my words. But the official All American Hoops merchandise has been officially released for now, which is T-shirts. We're looking into selling hats as well. Maybe sweatshirts, probably not though. But it's very cool design in my opinion. So I'm again, shout out Sports Fluent if you're watching this. I'm very thankful for you and especially for this shirt design. The link will be up in my bio right after the show. It's not up in it yet. I completely forgot to do it, but it will be up in my bio. So if you're not watching it live, definitely take a look at it. Would really appreciate if you bought the merch and supported the brand because, as I mentioned, I'm super thankful for this channel, super thankful for this show, and everything it's bought me. So very excited to start selling merch here.
Yeah, absolutely electric. Get your shirts. Buy your shirts.
We're all very excited for that. But that about wraps it up 7:00 on the dot. So yeah, perfect timing. Obviously a couple announcements before the end. I've become awesome at like the timing of it. So make sure to follow All American Hooper on all social media platforms on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to @SportsFluence on YouTube to catch every episode on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. and follow Sports Fluence on Instagram and Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. In addition to all this, take a look at my column on primetimesportstalk.com these episodes will begin to be uploaded to Primetime again. They weren't for a few weeks because of a few copyright issues, but however, they will be back to uploading on this podcast. On the channel again. So we're very, very excited for that. But that about does it for us. John, Matt, as per usual, thanks so much for coming on the show. And this time I will remember to do the outro, the Sports Fluent outro. So again, like and subscribe to Sports Fluent. Let's go Celtics, baby.
Shout out Jaylen Brown. I love you.